This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Here in the country, new labor laws have kicked into gear today, and they're set to shake up the private sector. We're set to see a number of major changes, like shorter fixed-term contracts for most private sector employees, the ability to stay in the country for 180 days after leaving your job, and also shared jobs being a new thing, as well as significant changes to maternity leave. And we invite everybody to join the discussion and text us at 4215 should you have any questions or thoughts about these new changes.
Significant changes indeed, and affects a lot of people. 4.9 million employees here in the United Arab Emirates, and we've got a increased flexibility, efficiency, ease of conducting business, and also attracting talents, and also available expertise and skills. So basically what's happening now is people can have multiple employers. So you can change your permanent contract to rolling fixed-term contracts. Now, there is a limit in the number of hours you can work. It's a 48-hour work week. So depending on 6 days a week or 5 days a week, whatever you do, you are expected to complete the rules and the obligations you have for your first employer, and then for the second. Now, of course, there's going to be lots of questions, and so do I have them. And it's whether who's going to be your main sponsor. If it's your main sponsor, they paid for your visa, shouldn't they have an issue with you working less hours for them and then working the other hours elsewhere? That's going to be the big discussion and the big debate as well. How is this all going to work? And of course, we'll get more clarity as the time progresses. But so far, the bottom line is the new law affects employees in free zones and mainland companies so far, with the exception of Dubai International Financial Centre and Abu Dhabi Global Markets. Now, each free zone can alter and have their own sort of set of rules for the companies, and the companies choose to adopt it or not, and it's down to them. But so far, the law stands. The law is there. I know there was a question earlier that said, does it impact free zones? Not entirely, but the free zones have been given a template. This is the law. You should comply with it, and the free zones can choose to adapt whatever they can. But that's the rule so far, and it's great news. But to what extent are people going to make use of this with the new permanent or indefinite contracts replaced with renewable 3-year contracts?
Yes, and starting from today, the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation will use 12 types of work permits. So these work permit types include a student training and employment permit, which allows establishments registered with the ministry to train or employ a student in the country who has reached the age of 15 according to specific controls and conditions that guarantee an appropriate training and work environment, and a work permit for citizens and children from GCC countries that allows establishments registered with the ministry to employ citizens or people from the GCC region. Also, a work permit can also be granted to golden visa holders upon the request of an entity registered with the ministry, and that is to employ a worker who holds this visa. A trainee national work permit can also be granted to establishments registered with the ministry that wishes to train citizens with approved scientific qualifications. Also, the new law introduces a 5-day paid leave on the death of a spouse and a 3-day paid leave on the death of a parent, child, sibling, grandchild, or grandparent, commencing from the date of the death. And a 5-day parental leave is also offered to both parents for childcare. Also, under this new law, workers are entitled to a 10-day study leave, and that is to pursue their education in accredited educational institutions here in the United Arab Emirates. Citizen workers are entitled to paid national service leave in line with the enforceable federal laws as well.
Yeah, and we're also seeing a number of flexible working options as well. So there's the condensed hour option. So if you're expected to work 40 hours a week as per your contract, you can now work those hours over 3 days as per the Minister of Human Resources and Emiratisation, Abdurrahman Al-Awar. Other flexible working options include the shared job system, when two people work in a single role and split the hours after coming to an agreement with their employer. Analysts say that this option would be particularly beneficial for those looking to get back to work after a time off, specifically working mothers who are looking to get back to part-time work as well. So great to see that flexibility in working options now being embedded in those laws. Another amazing aspect to this is protection for employees has been strengthened. Discrimination is clearly prohibited in any form, whether on race, color, religion, nationality, or disability. We're also seeing more protections against workplace harassment and stipulations for overtime. Employees cannot be forced to work any more than 2 hours of overtime per day, and if their job requires it, they must be paid 25% more than their regular hourly rate. So a lot of protections in there as well.
Yeah, and you know what I like about this new rule as well is, you know, when they say the employers may not use any means of force against workers or even use threats of penalties to make them work against their will, because in smaller retail outlets, for example, barbershops, cafeterias, or wherever, there's always this notion where when you ask an employer or your manager to ask, you know, for anything, they say, go speak to the Arbab and I will never do it. I will get you fired. I'll speak to Arbab and cancel your visa. Those penalties and those threats are no longer going to be applicable because the ministry will have has a dedicated section. It's in law and it's in writing that you will be protected. So that's number one. That's massive as well. And under the previous rules, employers also misused the non-compete clause. So they would make an employee leave the country rather than take up a new role. And the biggest of them all, and I think this is huge because a lot of us might have gone through this situation. Once you are made redundant, fired, or even terminated, if you've resigned, you have 180 days before your residency visa expires. So when you go for cancellation, for example, you'll have 180 days instead of the 30 days that was previously, because it's 30 days is a very, very short notice to make some significant changes. For example, if you were to move from, let's say, Sharjah to Abu Dhabi to work, you've got 30 days to relocate. That's a lot. So that's not enough sometimes. So it's all down to this. So it's great to see that you'll have 180 days to begin your job hunting process and look for a job and also change your profession. So wonderful to see that certain rules are now enacted, and kudos to all of you. Let us know on the text lines 4215 how it benefits you.
Yeah, definitely. And what's also amazing as well is what they're doing for employees who could find themselves in exploitative situations. So if they have to file, for example, a labor case against their employers for compensation of less than $100,000 dirhams, they will not have to pay the legal fees for that as well. Another thing too is you have the ability to leave your job without serving a notice period if there was a significant change in your tasks or works as well, and you haven't consented to those new tasks and job responsibilities, then you can just leave without serving a notice period as well. So a lot of employee protections there to prevent exploitation of workers here in the country.
Definitely, and I think now the line managers can't flex their muscles anymore, it looks like it, but it's great, significant changes in the country. Really, really amazing to see what's happened. And, you know, obviously we're going to introduce corporate tax law as well, so we're becoming an international community and being a major player in the global economy as well. So guys, stay with us here in the Morning Majlis and let us know on the text lines 4215 how it's going to benefit you, impact you, and we'd love to get your thoughts on air. You're listening to the Morning Majlis. Up next, we talk to you about your favorite app, Al Husn app, and how it has become the app of the year. Stay with us.
If you liked this episode of The Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.